Okay, so in this video, I would like to clarify some of the potential confusions that as some of the discussions we had earlier in class today. So I have checked the SPSS output. There was actually no problem, but the problem was with the focus of the interpretation when we look at the simple slopes. So let's see. Step number one is still we center the predictor and the moderator, then create the cross product, right? So the next step, we conduct a hierarchical multiple regression analysis. So step number two, we enter the interaction that's sent based on the centered moderator and the predictor variable. And we check making sure that the regression analysis was statistically significant. And then we move on to checking the interaction. So it was, in fact, statistically significant. So there's a significant moderation, which gives us a license to test simple effects at the different levels of the moderator. Now, given that the moderator is a continuous, now even though we were sex in this case is categorical, but we are going to treat that as if it were continuous. Now, because it were continuous, so we have to recenter, we have to check, we have to test the simple slope that's associated with the predictive variable BMI at different levels of the moderator. So we do plus 1 standard deviation above the mean and also 1 standard deviation below the mean, which requires to do some recentering. Okay, so that's what we explained earlier in class today. So to analysis at 1 standard deviation for the above the mean, for the moderator, we actually take the centered moderator minus 1 standard deviation, 0.498 in this case. And then we recreate the interaction term, and then we rerun the analysis. So once we rerun the analysis, what we need to do is here. So obviously, we are going to take a look at the interaction. It was still significant, remain the same. There's no change. However, our focus for the simple slope, we need to look at BMI. Okay, so what is the effect of the predictive variable BMI at when the moderator equals 1 standard deviation above the mean? As measured by standardized regression coefficient or beta coefficient, it equals 0.225. So it's a positive relationship, and the size of that effect of that relationship equals 0.225. This is when the interaction, we are looking at 1 standard deviation above the mean for the moderator. Now, what about when the moderator is 1 standard deviation below the mean? Again, we do the same thing. We recenter, recreate the interaction term. This time it's low, right? It's low, right? And then we run the same analysis. We can check the interaction. It was still significant, no change there. However, we are going to focus on the effect of BMI on the criterion variable health symptoms. What is the size of effect? Beta coefficient, 0.075. It was still positive, but the size of that effect, the size of that relationship is much lower. Right? So if we can summarize the results of the simple slope analysis right here. So the level of the moderator, 1 standard deviation above the mean, 1 standard deviation below the mean, and this is the original analysis when everything is centered. Moderator is centered, and then we run that analysis that's equivalent to 0 standard deviation. So we actually tested the slope, the simple slope that's associated with BMI at 3 different levels of the moderator. So 0.225, 0.150, and 0.075. So again, this is the result of the moderation analysis. Remember, what is moderation? Moderation is interaction. So the effect of one variable on the other variable depends on the level of a third variable, right? So in this case, we are talking about the correlation, regression, so continuous variable. And the strength of the relationship between BMI and health depended on the beta coefficient, depended on the level of the third variable, which we call the moderator in this case. So let me know if you have any questions. And let me see. So discard. Let me know if you have any questions. And I hope this video helps to clarify some of the potential confusions with the interpretation of the simple slope analysis.